Okay. Okay, next din over here is, okay, we learned that a bris has to be done only during the day, because it's a B'yem Hashmini. Now, what is considered day? From Netzach Hama until Ben Toshkia. Ideally, from sunrise to sundown. Now, there are certain opinions, many opinions disagree, but there are certain opinions that say, what happens if you can't do it after sunrise? You have to do it before, from dawn, which is 72 minutes before sunrise. But the Eved, like it says by a lot of dinim, like lulav and esrog, you're supposed to do after sunrise, but the Eved you could do alaysa shachar and things like that. So most opinions say if you have no choice and you did it after alaysa shachar, but the shachar is good. Some opinions say it's not really good. So again, if a person is able to do it afterwards, after sunrise, at the time when they should do it. Even if it's a pushed off bris, it has to only be by day. Okay? Now, even though technically the whole day is kosher to do a bris, nevertheless, it's what's called Zeriza Magdimim Lemitzvos. We learn out when Hashem told Avram Avinu to take Yitzchak for the Akedah, so it says, Vayashkem Avram Babayker. Avram got up early in the morning. So Gemara learns out, Mikachel Zeriza Magdimim Lemitzvos. Zealous people like to do mitzvahs, but not before sunrise. But the question is like this. So therefore, most people do it in the morning, right after Shachris. It's also practical because then people go to work. But the question is, what happens if I make the bris later on during the day? I'll have more people. There is a concept called Reiv Am Hadras Melech. If you have a lot of people, it beautifies the mitzvah. So now I have two options. Either make it early in the morning with less people, but I have the level of Zeriza Magdimim Lemitzvos, or should I make the bris later so I don't have Zeriza Magdimim Lemitzvos, I don't have zealousness, but at least I have more people. So there's a lot of talk about this in halacha. So most opinions, in fact, say it's better to do it early in the morning, even though you'll have less people than later. There's a sikha from the Rebbe explains that even though that is ideally but the custom lepoil is, the Rebbe explained, the custom factually is that people will make it later to be able to have more people. And there are other opinions that say that also, that if later you're going to have a bigger crowd, then you should do it later on. But then you have to be careful, because if you make it late in the afternoon and it's sundown, the Milah has to be before Shkia. You can't do a bris after Shkia, so you have to make sure.
They say it's better to go afternoon with meat and instead of meat.
There are opinions in halacha that a sudas mitzvah, something as important as a bris milah, ideally should be meat. There are many opinions in halacha. The minig, one second, the minig is that because you make a bris in the morning, what are you going to have? Prime rib in the morning, it doesn't go with the lentils. You know what I mean? So, one second. So then the pearl is other poskim right, and that's again the accepted minig. They ate it with fish, like lox and that type of stuff. What?
If I'm not a close family member, is it better for you to sit and study Torah or attend the bris?
Attending a bris is a very holy thing. It's a very holy thing. If you partake of a suda of a bris, it's like you fasted 84 fasts. So there is an inyan of a bris. By the way, you can go to a bris, and until if it's called for 9 o'clock, depends what nationality it is, but usually before 9:30 there won't be a bris, maybe even 10:30, 11. So then you can learn at the bris. You could do both. You could do learning at the bris, and then when they do the bris, you'll stop and listen to the bris. What?
Partaking in the meal means bread, or you can have...
Not necessarily. According to many opinions, if you don't wash, you have mezainis, it's also good.
That's considered 80 fasts.
Still 84 fasts.
I heard with the Pidyon Amen is 84 fasts.
They say bris milos. What?
With mezainis also you consider the fast?
Yeah, probably.
You have to be involved.
To a bris? No, as long as you go.
How much do you have to be part of the
The pashtus, the kazayas. Okay, now what happens if by mistake, we said you have to do a bris during the day. What happens if by mistake somebody did a bris at night, after nightfall? So there's 4 opinions. Some people say you didn't fulfill the obligation, you have to do bloodletting. Some people say you're not yaitze, even bloodletting is not going to help. That means you blew it, that's it. Some people say you are yaitze, but you don't even have to do the toughest dam bris. The bottom line halacha is that what you have to do is a toughest dam bris, during the day, next day or whatever, to do a little bloodletting to the most shittas.
Does it say why it has to be at night?
No, it's supposed to be during the day.
Does it say why it shouldn't be at night?
Yeah, because the Torah says Bayom Hashmini. The Torah Bayom means day. Day is day. That's how we learn like a lot of mitzvahs. Lulav, the Torah says Olkachtam Lacham Bayom Rishon. So Bayom means you have to do the mitzvah of Lulav by day. You can't do it at night.
If they see a problem with
Louder, sir.
if they see a problem with the newborn, do they do bloodletting instead of?
No, if there's a problem with the newborn, you don't do a bris until the newborn is ready.
And you don't do any bloodletting?
No, you don't do anything.
So we have a situation, we have all guests are there, and everybody, and then the mother is blasted, so we don't have a problem.
Generally speaking, the male checks out the baby a few days before the bris. Now there is a story with the Rebbe Rashab, the 5th Rebbe, when he was born, the night before the bris, the Samach Tzedek, who's the grandfather, said the bris is not going to be on time. And the mothers, his wife, all the women that cooked all the food, they didn't have freezers, they can freeze the food. So they came to the Samach Tzedek begging him, no, the bris has to be on time. So Samach Tzedek said, let the people eat the meal. So anyway, they pushed him a lot. So he said, you know what? Do what you want. The pearl came mamish at the time of the bris, the male took a look at the baby and he couldn't do the bris. He wasn't able to do the bris. But generally speaking, a male knows. A male can't check the baby right away either. Right after the baby is born. Like on the 3rd or 4th day, that's when, if it's yellow, that's when the numbers go up. Because if the baby's yellow, you can't do a bris. Because it has a din of a sick person. Now there's different mayalim that have different numbers. Some mayalim won't do a bris over 10. The Billy Reuben count as 10. Some will do it under 16. Some hold if it goes above 16. If it goes above 16, you have to wait a week after it goes down to 10.
16 what?
The Billy Reuben count. It's the measurement of how yellow the baby is. So, in fact, the Rebbe was very, very strict. That if there's any question whatsoever, you don't do a bris. What?
If your baby is born already circumcised, do they still do bloodletting?
You have to do the bloodletting, yeah. That's the din shchunach. If the baby, what?
With the brother.
Yeah, it's a brach.
But if it's like at night.
There's a story. A friend of mine. This is going back a long time ago. 50. Wow. He had a baby. Okay. And one moil said you could do the bris. The Rav in Lubavitch said you could do the bris. One moil wasn't as good as the other moil, said you shouldn't do the bris. The real good moil, the expert moil, says no problem doing the bris. The not such good moil said you shouldn't do the bris on the 8th day. But the Rav said you should do the bris on the 8th day. The guy was a new father, like they say. So he wrote into the Rebbe. He wrote that the Rav said this, and this moil, who everybody knew to be the expert moil in New York, but this moil said no. So the Rebbe answered him. I'm paraphrasing the Rebbe's answer. It's known that any time there's a doubt of pikuach nefesh, you don't do it. And the Rebbe wrote, "Va'aser lasis abris." The Rebbe was a little upset because what are you asking the Rebbe for? Anyway, but the Rebbe was very, very. I know other cases, cousins, whatever. that the Rebbe was very, very strict about if there's any issue whatsoever, you don't do bris on time. Some people want to push, The Rambam says, in fact, a bris you can always do. Bringing back a life you can't always do. So anytime there's even a doubt of a doubt, then you still don't do the bris.
Don't a lot of doctors do it at the hospital right away?
Not if you told them not to.
No, I understand, but I'm saying they don't wait for the jaundice.
Because al pi din, moilim are much stricter than doctors when it comes to a bris, much stricter. Every doctor will tell you under all circumstances you could do the bris. And moilim are strict, and al pi Torah you have to follow the moil, not the doctor.
But when did the jaundice thing, the yelling come about?
The Gemara talks about it. The halacha, yeah. Jaundice always existed.
So why the doctor so
The doctors say it's not an issue, but halacha says it is an issue.
Any cases where a child who perished or did not survive the Brit?
Not that I know of. I can't say. Okay, what? I said, I don't know of any. What should I say? There are never cases? There are cases? I don't know. Maybe there are. I didn't say there aren't. Maybe there are.
What?
Cases of kids that died because of the bris. I mean, you have that in halacha. If a baby died and his brother died from a bris milah, you don't do the third kid. But I'm saying, what cases like now, today, that I know. I don't know. Okay, now, what are the criterias for a good moil? What do you look for in a moil? So there's a lot of qualifications in halacha. Number one is, the first thing is a good moil. The guy knows how to cut well. He knows how to do the thing.
I thought the litmus test if he can do that with his eyes closed.
No, if he does it behind his back, not with the eyes closed. By the way, the way Milah today set up a baby with not the clamp, God forbid, but the shield. Yeah, technically, once the shield's on the right place, the male it can just go like this. I mean, it can't go wrong, so to speak. Then the Pri have to see what you're doing. Okay, so let's go into criteria. The first one is an expert. Second is the Rebbe of the father of the baby. Third, the father of the baby. Next, a relative, good deeds, Talmid Chacham, or a guy that always hung around by the family and a kohen. Now, there's an interesting halacha over here. If somebody told the male, I want you to be the male of my son, you're not allowed to change your mind. There are a few exceptions that you're allowed to change your mind. But you're not allowed to change your mind. There are opinions, we don't paskin like that. And some maleim like to paskin like that. But there are opinions that say, if you use the male by your previous kid, you have to use them again by the next kid. Unless obviously you live in a different city. But the moilim that did it like to say, you have to use the same moil again. But halachically you don't have to use the same moil again. But if you promised a moil that you're going to take them, then you're not allowed to change the mind. But if you did, you changed it. But then it could be a shaila of, you would have to give him money. Whatever.
Why wouldn't you be able to change? Why should you?
Because he already promised him to do a mitzvah, so it's a promise.
Even if
They call it the pasuk Sheretz Yisrael Yasu Avla. It's not nice. You promised him already to do it.
if you feel like there's someone that's a better expert, you would be able to.
So sometimes it says that what happens if there's somebody, a more righteous person, a bigger tzaddik, then you could change. That means if you would have known that he was going to be in town, you would have given him. But even then, the minig is, you don't want any kapeda, you don't want any bad ayin hara, so to speak, from the other moil. These things are very important in these holy things. So you don't do it. But there's certain times, you could do it. Okay. Now, ideally, it's interesting. Ideally, the mitzvah of doing the bris is on the father. It means the father has to do the bris. That's why, if you don't, you have a moil. So before the bris, the moil in fact gives, we mentioned this, he gives you the knife, you give it back to him, and you say, I'm appointing you as a shliach to do the bris of my child. Because really, the mitzvah of bris milah is on the father to do. So what happens? The father can't, so then he gets a moil to do it. Therefore, some poskim say, what happens if the father of the kid knows how to do a bris? He has to do it. But most poskim say, but what happens if he feels the other guy is better, or he's too nervous because it's his own kid or whatever, then you can have another kid to do it. What happens sometimes if the father knows a little bit about it, another male will set everything up, and all the father has to do is, and then the male does the rest of it, the priya, the ripping, the second part of the bris.